I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Welcome to today's episode. I am very excited about speaking with these guys today. We are focusing January on a new year, a new you, and it's all about motivation, drive, focus, and we're exploring, well-being, health, and fitness, to name a few areas on being a better version of yourself. And many people now in January, as we do in Januaries, we aim to kind of kick in a new routine, a healthy start to the year. And we're going to explore that today. And we've got some amazing guests. We've got Michelle Vodden, we've got Gemma Gibson, David Mankel, and Jack Burton, and all who have joined us on solo episodes of the Business Lockdown. And we bring them together as a group today for our audience to once again bring some world-class level of content and value to you all. So I'll start with Michelle. If you can introduce yourselves and remind our audience, what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me back, James. My name is Michelle Vodden. I own a yoga and mindfulness retreat called Retox Retreat here in East Yorkshire in the UK, and also I have been a health and wellness consultant for 8 years now with Arbonne International.
And Gem? Gem, can you hear us?
Oh, stop me! I'm with them. Out. Hiya! I was waiting for Michelle's next bit. I was like really listening intent. Sounds brilliant, Michelle.
I hope you're not going to introduce yourself as a mindfulness coach right now, Gem, because that would just set you up perfectly.
She was meditating.
I was meditating on what Michelle was saying, yeah. No, I'm Gemma Gibson. I'm a health coach. I've been a health coach for the last couple of years. And I've been involved in the fitness industry, probably, dare I say, for over 20 years now. And so I'm just going to be talking a little bit about everything health coach, wellness. A lot of that is to do with habit change. And I'm also based here in East Yorkshire.
Fantastic. Dave?
Yeah, so my name's David Mankel. I run a business called Mankel of Mankel. So it's a combination of coaching, I guess mental wellness as well, like a bit of a hybrid. And I've been seriously doing this for the last 4 or 5 years since I got back from Southeast Asia. So yeah, don't know if I can compete with the other two there, but
it's not a we're all competitive.
It is a competition.
Here, and
it's not a competition.
I love it. Thanks for that, Dave. And Jack?
My name's Jack, and I own a couple of gyms now in Hull, and a few other things, and I just lift some weights.
You are straight away underselling yourself right now.
I love it. I lift everything's up and down.
As I've said, I'm super appreciative that you're here today. I love the group format, and you guys as a collective. I've got an easy job today. I love doing this anyway, and let alone with people like yourselves joining us as guests. So I can't thank you enough for being here. Now, I'm going to kick off with a question, guys, and I'm really eager to understand. I would love to know your kind of proudest moment within health, fitness, well-being, and that could be personally or professionally or a combination of the two. And again, we'll do the round robin. I'll start with you, Michelle. Eager to know your proudest moment within this environment that we're discussing today within the health, fitness, wellbeing, mindfulness sector.
Yeah, so for me, I would say it was probably not one moment, but it was a definite transition. But looking back, it seems like quite a big thing. So in the past, I worked in a very high stress environment. I was secondary teaching and had an event management company as well. I had burnout. I didn't look after myself. I wasn't healthy. I didn't look after my mindset, didn't look after my body nutrition wise. I thought because I was a professional dancer when I was younger that I was really healthy because I did a lot of exercise. But I started to suffer with anxiety, panic attacks, that type of thing. So kind of lost myself from being a very confident person. And then I discovered personal development when I started my health and wellness business. It was something very, very new to me. Started to read every day, started to feed my mind differently, changed what I was eating, how I showed up for myself every single day, and got all of that under control. And I am not just the person I was before now, but I'm a much stronger person for it. So I would say that was the biggest thing for me, just being able to control on here, and it's impacted every area of my life, from motherhood, you know, business, health, energy, the works. So I think, yeah, that's it for me.
Love that. Thank you very much for sharing. And Gem.
That's lovely, Michelle. I didn't actually realise me and Michelle are almost the same person for the first half of that conversation, because like you, Michelle, I'm sort of a secondary school teacher and a dancer, very similar background in that sense. There's been quite a few moments, but I think one quite recent one that sticks out to me is under the last lockdown. I had a couple of 90-day transformation clients, and I remember getting this call when we'd sort of come out of lockdown, and one of my clients said to me, I've just had a breakthrough moment, and she'd had a really tough sort of build up into coming into this 90-day transformation, and she just said, I've just given it to them straight. I was like, what do you mean? She had quite a pressured job, her and her partner were under a lot of pressure, and she just said, over the last week, I've put myself first, and I've just told everybody how it is. She said, and I've made some really healthy choices that I would never have made before I did this. She said, and then she went on to telling me like she was about to lose a lid with somebody, and she ended up just doing some of the breathing exercises that I'd done with her. And she actually said at the end of the conversation, she said, this has transformed not just my health, but that of my relationships and my whole process of how I'm dealing with this situation. Because if we'd have done this lockdown, she'd not done the transformation, and it had been 6 months earlier, she said, I don't know how I'd have made it through it. So I think because, you know, she was a friend of mine as well, and somebody I love, but the fact that it's made so many changes in hers and her family's lives, and even had an effect on her work, for me, that was just something I hold very dear.
I love that. And I know with you, Gemma, I'm sure, because you've worked with a lot of people now, and I'm sure you get often customers and clients surprised on the benefits as a byproduct of switching your diet and looking at nutrition and breathing. You know, you talk about health, your improvement on relationships and things like that, and then that doesn't seem so obvious when it comes to working with a health coach. You know, it's actually so much broad. The benefits are so much broader, aren't they? I remember I did the cleanse with you, and I even the accountability, and I even like silly thing of hand washing my car when I normally take it through a car wash machine, and putting a picture and going like, I'm just feel motivated to do it by hand right now. And it's those little things. So I get what you're saying, and I love that. And it's the byproducts, and this is what I want to cover with us today as well, is identify the positive byproducts of making a start, or changing your diet, or lifting some weights, you know, whatever that might be, and all of the added benefits that people may not be able to identify or believe are possible when they're making a start for you know, to make a healthy change and create healthy habits. So I absolutely love that. Dave?
Yeah, I was thinking about it whilst the other guys were talking. It's quite hard, I think, to pinpoint a single thing that I would say is like maybe proudest moment. I suppose for this year, transitioning into strength sports and competing and winning multiple strongman competitions. So I suppose that's like personal, as in, you know, maybe a bit selfish for me. I'd say maybe having long-standing clients that stick with me. I think that's like a really proud achievement. You know, people that have belief and faith in my ability to help them. That's quite a humbling and nice feeling, I guess.
Has that surprised you over time, Dave? You know, as you've gotten, you said you said 4 or 5 years into this, you know, seriously and professionally. Has that surprised you over time? The level of commitment and loyalty that your clients have shown you, because the fitness industry can be pretty fickle, right? And everybody's got a New Year's resolution, which we'll be touching on, and it's a fad, and they do it for the wrong reasons, or short term goals that are often unachievable, so then they drop out. I know we've spoke about that before. Mm-hmm. Has that surprised you along the way when you look at clients sticking with you long term, and for the reasons why?
I wouldn't say it surprised me. I think I try and build up a really good relationship with my clients. So they're not just a client, that generally they're actually really good friends. So because they're a friend as well as a client, and we've built that rapport, it's not just a transaction, it's like a bit more personal. And I think they appreciate that as well. So I think, like, you know, it maybe doesn't surprise me, but again, it's just quite nice that people do stick with you and they do have that confidence in you. Yeah.
Love that.
I think you're being quite humble there, Dave. I hope you don't mind me jumping in, James. But no, I sort of do a bit of training and work out a peak physique now and again, and I know how highly thought of Dave is, not just there, but other places. So I think you're selling yourself short there, Dave. You're awesome at what you do.
That's really nice of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a digital hug right there that we've just shared. Love it.
We can't have real ones anymore, can we?
I know, we're not allowed, are we?
Well, on the subject of underselling yourself, we come to Jack Burton. You've had time to, you've had time to think about this, mate. So I expect some good stuff, because we've been friends for years and worked together. I've trained at your gym and whatnot. I've seen you in action and working with people, and you know, an obvious one is that you were in really good nick, weren't you? Well, you're training now, and in really good shape. I mean, what's your proudest moment personally or professionally when it comes within health and fitness, and are they combined?
Do you know, I was like listening to everybody's on there. I just thought, like, how do I follow that? Like, I don't really know. You know, I've got really good on Call of Duty over the last couple of months. Lockdown. That's a lie. It's a complete lie.
Strong thumbs, Jack.
I don't really know. I don't think there's. I think because of where, like, I potentially would like to be, you know, like sort of a few years down the line. You know, like I don't know. I guess like I've sort of shifted my focus recently, not towards, like, you know, how I think I'm just on a point now where I'm like, well, you know, for the efforts that I put into the business and things like that, things should progress, things should go in a certain direction, things should change, people should gravitate towards it, whether they're a customer, member of staff. You know, I've got, you know what, I suppose, like, you know, one of my, I'd say, like, sort of best, well, it's not like even my achievements, but like I've got a guy who works for me, and he does a really, really good job. And he basically allows me to, you know, sort of go to bed when I need to go to bed, get up when I need to get up. He allows me to get on with other bits and pieces. To then, you know, allow me to focus on growing. I say, for example, doing this new gym and other kind of bits and pieces. And, like, you know, like, the best way I sort of can put it, like, if I'm creating like a path of destruction anywhere I go, he's the guy that's behind me, then, like, sort of just pulling things nicely away, you know, like, so yeah, that's pretty much, you know.
I like that analogy. I like creating a path of destruction. I can certainly vouch for that over the years, for sure. Yeah, I do love that. And it's interesting. What I kind of picked up with what you're saying there, Jack, is it seems like when you were talking initially to answer that question, it seems that you're always visualizing ahead, because it seemed quite difficult to look back at something you feel like you've achieved when you're constantly looking forward. And I know you're always driving forward, always moving, you're never standing still. And I don't know if anybody remembers the Matthew McConaughey Oscars speech when he was talking about who his hero is, and it's him in the future. And when he gets there, people are like, so, you know, have you achieved what you want to achieve? Are you now your own hero? And he's like, hell no, my hero's another 5 years ahead, another 10 years ahead. And I kind of like pick that up with you, that when you're always moving and you're always moving the goalposts and setting new goals and targets, it's one of them, isn't it? There are people like us where if you achieve your goal or your target, it's like, how do you identify that, number one? And then, is it a feeling of accomplishment, or is it just like, right, I need to kick on now. I can't stay still. I can't stand still. I need to keep moving forward. Who's got a New Year's resolution? How has 2021 started for you guys personally? Are there any New Year's resolutions? Dave, is that a thing? Is a figure? Right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Like being at school. So
I like this. We could have like a key card system, like a color card system, or a flag that we wave. But yeah, Dave, go straight ahead.
yeah, so I wouldn't normally commit to New Year's resolutions because I do think it is a little bit gimmicky. And again, if you're doing a New Year's resolution, you could do it any time, can't you? You don't have to. I suppose for some people it works really well. For other people, yeah, they're just sort of like joining the crowd. They're just following the crowd, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like setting goals that'll never be achieved. The one for me, and this is like so massive, like because I never do it, is to. So like I have a few issues, as everybody does, and I suppose like I hold on to negative feelings towards other people, maybe, but the realization that negative feeling is not impacting that person in the slightest. The only person it's impacting is myself, and to let go of that is massively liberating. It's absolutely amazing. And I just decided, like, as a New Year's resolution, just going to let go of that negative feeling towards others. And it sounds really, really cheesy, but it's really worked for me so far. I know we're only like 11 days into Jan. Is it 11? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, as far as the podcast is aware, it's the final Monday of the month.
Oh right, okay. But yeah, I mean,
whatever today is, it's the final Monday of January. So
okay.
we'll just
yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, something so simple, just the thought process like that, is absolutely huge in my opinion. So yes,
I'd agree, mate. I mean, you know, January, a New Year's resolution, when you ask that question out, you're expecting, I'm going to stop drinking, smoking. You know, this is what people say. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to run a marathon by this, all of that kind of stuff. So for you to throw that straight down on something that's, you know, emotionally driven and clearly beneficial is awesome. What was the pivoting point with that? Is that something you've been contemplating for a while? Has that been a process?
Yeah, it's something I've been working on for a long time because I know it doesn't serve me. I know that like that hate toward, I wouldn't say hate, that's a bit extreme, but that negative feeling towards other people that have potentially, or in your eyes, wronged you in the past. Like that's like one of my issues. Found it really hard to sort of let go of that. But yeah, just coming to the realization that it's actually damaging me and not damaging anybody else.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, so far it's been absolutely fantastic.
That is awesome, mate. Thanks so much for sharing that. And to say, yeah, we're not far into the new year, and you're already reaping the rewards, and that in itself is, which we touch on there, is about that mindfulness, being aware, because it's all right coming up with a new resolution or making a positive change and implementing positive habits. It's, you know, it's one thing starting that, but it's the ability to reflect on those, and whether that's a daily basis, daily, weekly, monthly basis, to review, to check where you're at within yourself. And I think that's super important. Where do you guys stand on that when it comes to you know, documenting your progress, your achievements, your reflections, whether that's in fitness or mindfulness, well-being? Where do you guys stand at? Because I've got to say, for one, if I get too structured like that in the gym environment, I lose all interest, because it becomes too rigid, and I lose the fun element of it. But one guest we had recently was on about like documenting like having a gratitude journal. So at the end of the day, you have like 3, 4, 5 points of what you're grateful for, and it just provides an opportunity to reflect on your day, and having that kind of like that, implementing that healthy habit and accountability. Yeah, where do you guys stand on documenting? Like, you know, we're looking at goal setting, accountability, achievement, but also important within that, what happens when you fail? You know, if you fall off the wagon, if you try and have a dry January, or you don't go to the gym when you promise yourself you'd do 5 sessions a week, whatever. How does that look with you guys? And I'll open the floor.
I would say, like you said about people falling off the wagon, because that's definitely going to happen. Human beings, aren't we? So it makes we're not perfect. We're imperfect, aren't we? And old habits will die hard. So the main thing that I say to my clients is, like, yeah, it's most probably going to happen. But the important thing is not to see it as black and white. They're like, oh, I don't know, for example, they've had a binge because they've had a stressful day.
Yep.
And as a result of that creates a feeling of failure and guilt, which often doesn't serve people. So the main thing I say is, like, yeah, it's like, just recognize it, but move forward straight away after that, instead of dwelling on it and going, oh, I'm a failure, and then continuing that negative process mentally and physically, because that's usually what happens.
Right.
Just jumping straight back on with it and just getting refocused. I think that's a really important point.
Well, with that in mind, how important is a cheat day, and whether that is like a set day in the week, or that one day can be flexible? I mean, when it comes to fitness or diet, how important is that? Yes, Gem?
Sorry.
No, don't. Sorry,
I can only see you talking, so I just sort of, just to sort of echo what Dave was saying there and just extend it a little bit. Something that I look at is, it's a bit like peeling the onion, isn't it? And nobody sets the intention to go out and go, right, I'm going to totally fall off the wagon tonight and get absolutely wrecked, and to hell with dry January. And you mentioned earlier about when we did the cleanse with you and you was on the VIP cleanse, there's always a why under the why. So maybe somebody's reason for wanting to get fit and healthy, there's something underneath that. And why is it they want to get fit and healthy? And that's what I work on with my clients, kind of exploring that why under the why. And it might be that they've had some level of trauma and they've lost confidence, and that's the why under the why. It's not just about looking good and feeling good in that moment. And I think I sort of used to always make a New Year's resolution. Maybe I was a little bit of a sheep in that sense, but this year I haven't. I've just kind of gone, well, do you know what? This year I remember the last lockdown we talked about the new normal. To me, I'm rejecting that idea completely, because this isn't normal, what's going on now. And I think in terms of setting intentions and resolutions at the moment, that's going to be difficult. So I think it's making sure that people know why they may be sabotaged and why they're holding on to something that's maybe keeping them back, and it's getting them out of that place where they're stuck. So one of the things we'd be looking at, it would be, why did that happen? If you fall off the wagon, then why did it happen? And explore that. So even if anybody does fall off and doesn't manage to follow through, there will be some progress, because you can learn from the reason why you didn't follow through in the first place, and that can help you to subsequently move on in the future. So I've sort of been a lot less hard on myself. Some of the things that Michelle was saying earlier, I really could relate to that. And as somebody who was always involved in dancing and teaching PE, and there was always this competitive nature around me, and I used to feel bad and almost beat myself up if I didn't make it to the gym, or if I didn't get the 8 hours sleep. Whereas now I just feel a lot more relaxed, that I roll with it. If it didn't happen, there was a reason why. My big thing, I suppose, that I do need to sort out is my sleep, and it's more because it's a habit that, I've come off caffeine, I'm tired, but if I don't go to bed anytime after 10 o'clock, I get this second surge of energy, which, could go down the circadian rhythm route and all the rest of it. But it's mainly because I love what I do and I'm that interested. So I was on a seminar the other night, and it was on American time, and I should have turned off at 10 o'clock, but I didn't. I just wanted to learn more. So the why under the why there was that I didn't go to bed on time because I was actually doing something that was moving me forward. So even if you made that mistake, even if you've not managed to hold on to it, just dig a little bit deeper and find out why you didn't. And then hopefully that'll help you to progress and not make that same mistake in the future.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? Kind of, I've done it many times where you're on a seminar or you're learning, and the problem is it just kicks your whole imagination off where I can progress personally, professionally. And if it's late at night, then forget about it. Like there's one thing being in front of a screen before bed, which is bad enough, but it's another thing learning in something that you're excited about and invested in. Jack, I see that you're in good physical condition right now, and you certainly have been over the years. Can you give us insight into how that is with you. I mean, is that something that you're, you know, because I know us being mates is that has fluctuated over time, but how, you know, what does that normally look like? Are you generally in good condition on a yearly basis? Is there a time of year that you might dip with your training and your self-care, and maybe some reasons why that is, or does it come from nowhere and you kind of have to deal with that and then get back up to speed? What gives a bit of insight into that? Because you clearly need to be disciplined with what you're doing, and also in owning a gym, you know, as we know, it helps being in good physical condition when you're owning a gym. I mean, it's nothing worse than an overweight gym owner, PT instructor, is they trying to motivate people and sell their product and brand. So give us an insight into where you find it that it's really easy to focus on and get your motivation, structure, and drive, and where you may struggle as well when it comes to your routine.
Well, you know, I think for me, it's you know, I'm really comfortable with going, right, okay, this is where I am now, this is where I want to be in 10 years. And then, you know, going into like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. I remember when I was like 20 years old, we want New Year. I just said, right, okay, I'm not going to drink for a month. And then I did like 2 months, 3 months. Anyway, cut long story short, that turned into 5 years. I didn't drink anything between the age of 20 to 25. Trained, got into good shape, you know, in some people's eyes, if you like, took it to an extreme, did it, been there, got the trophy, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, for me at that point, it was more like vanity than sanity. It sort of become like all encompassing. It was a case of, well, I was just doing this, doing that. It was just like every day was structured. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. It was good. But then like over a period of time, I learned to adopt, if you like, to an idea of just percentages. And this is what I've put onto everybody, whether it be in business, life, training, anything like that. If someone comes to me and they've never trained before and they say, right, okay, well, I know I'm in bad shape, this is where I want to be. The first thing I do is to take a time off it. Don't say I want to be here in 3 months. Don't say I want to be there in 6 months. Then go from a point of going, right, okay, well, if you come to gym once this week, that's 100% better than what it was last week. If you then come twice the week after, again, it's, you know, you can't work out them percentages. It's just so much better getting that person into that. And the last thing that can potentially change them with that person's diet, because obviously they're not physically with you. I mean, I haven't trained people for years now, but, you know, I give advice to all the PTs and that work underneath myself at the clubs. And I just basically say, look, you know, we are creatures of habit. You know, you've got to get people into that routine, but you've also got them to understand that, you know, we are working with the general public that do have families, that do have other likes, dislikes, that do like to go to the cinema. I mean, I like to go to the cinema. Every time I go to the cinema, I get like a little snacky box, a little bit of popcorn, that kind of stuff, just because it's the whole, like, you know, I want to go there. You know, I want to have that experience of watching a movie on the big screen. So I think that's the easiest way for me to to explain that, because I can diet very easily, very routine, get up in the morning, have my coffee, do my cardio, have a shake after that. Then an hour later, I'm eating. 3 hours later, I'm eating again. And it's literally like that Monday to Sunday. And then it'll be a case of, right, okay, you know, like movies out on Thursday night. I go there in a normal circumstance. I'd go there and I would have that, and that'd be my treat. Now, the thing is, like, if I then do that again and again and again, and I go home on the Friday, I have a takeaway. On the Saturday, I have another one. Sunday, I have another one, that kind of stuff. Well, my percentage of doing well, if you like, then becomes obviously decreased. And I just explain that model to everybody and say, like, the choice is always yours. You know, you can be very unhealthy, and then within a year, you can be the healthiest version you've ever been. And you don't have to have an age on that. You don't have to be a young person to do that. You know, you can just decide to make a positive change. And again, like, I think that applies to like business as well. You know, like, I don't have an issue with working 12, 14-hour days, day in, day out. You know, I mean, I've turned an empty unit around recently. That's been empty for a few years in town. I mean, we touched on it last time, James, last time we spoke on this podcast. And then within 8 weeks, I've turned it into a pretty good looking facility.
You certainly made it happen. I mean, that goes without. That's an understatement from following your journey online. That has, you know, you kind of teased it in when you were on the show last time, and then it's happened, and it's happened with conviction, which is awesome. So it's clear, you know. This is what I've been taught, and I won't venture off on a side note, but before I speak with Michelle, because I definitely want to certainly on like the home environment with 4 kids, Michelle, which we'll come to, because that is beyond me on how you can manage that, let alone be a successful entrepreneur and healthy and motivate others. But yeah, I mean, that was. Is that, Jack? I mean, is how much of a play with something like that project is that you just make a decision, and once you've made it, then everything has to fall into place. There's no question about it. It's just how long it takes, or how much energy or problems that need to be solved within that journey. You know, how much.
Well, I mean, like for me, Joe, I don't have any notes. I write nothing down. I'm not on the diary for 11 years. You know, I've not got any kind of structure in terms of, you know, everything for me is always, you know, in my head. You know, you can tell me something, get a message through, this is what time we're doing it, and that's just it. You know, I fit it in, I fit everything else around that. So when I was going there every day in, day out, I had a plan. I had other people obviously working for me. You know, they had no plan to work to, so I had to be there to tell them how I wanted something, how I wanted it exactly looking. You know, to how big the change rooms are, to where the walls need to go, to the toilets, to what colour the tiles need to be, all these kind of things. And I think a lot of people, when I tell them like this at the beginning, and it's an empty unit, I mean, I put some pictures up of it, an empty unit. And if I was to say to people, like, I literally just stood there, turned around and said, this is that, that's going to be that. I think a lot of people, and I think a few people did say, you'd never do this, you're mental, you know, kind of thing. But I've done it twice now.
That's got to be such a driver, though. I mean, you want that, don't you? You want someone telling you that you can't make this happen. This will never work. It's just like, oh, it's fuel to the fire.
Yeah, yes. Well, no, not really. No. Not for me, because it's just like, well, you know, regardless of what you say, it's happening. You know, you're not the one that's investing into it. You're not the one that's putting the time into it. You're not the one that visualizes the rewards that you're then going to be getting, obviously, out of it further down the line. And again, like, obviously, along the way in this, Jen, it's more than obviously just obviously having this brand new shiny gym, which, I mean, to be fair, like, looking at it, we've had a lot of positive feedback on obviously how good it looks. You know, it's a different kind of look for the city. It's totally different to obviously my other one, which I've got the other side of the city. And as well as that, obviously, I've got a good partner in that, Luke, you know, and obviously he's a good character himself in terms of just the way he thinks and stuff like that. And, you know, I can be present with him in the way, you know, a person can put a question to him and he's just so like decisive, like he's on it. So for me, it's like when me and him get together, it's kind of like, you know, you feel these two like sort of quite strong-minded people. I mean, luckily, you know what, like touch wood, we never had one instance where it was a case of like, I said black, he said white. It was always a case of like anything that was said, it was the same thing, because I think like overall we have the same goal, you know, of where we want to end up with it. You know, it needs to be a certain level. Yeah, I think I do things very differently to other people, but you know, it seems to work out. But if I have a day off, then everything seems to fall apart.
Well, that's interesting in itself, and I think that you know, surely things need to be done differently to achieve different and successful outcomes, right? Because if we followed the path of everybody else, you know, it'd be, well, would it excite us in the ways that we all need to serve ourselves, and with that drive? And we're talking about motivation and levels of personal success. I just think, that often you need to think outside the box, right? And you need to do something different, and it's not for everybody or anybody else to understand at times, as long as you're aware. And it's often those people that tell you can't do it that are afraid to even make a start themselves.
I think if you look at like the risks, you know, which are involved in, you know, I mean, because I went to school, didn't do very well. Like in school, it is what it is. Went to college, dropped out of college, no idea of university. Like I couldn't fathom, you know, whether I'd wanted to go there, not go there, whatever. What was the point? You know, constantly having people that was like your peers that are like middle-aged, you know, people that are supposed to be professionals in their industry say, you know, this is what you need to do to achieve this. This is what you need to do to achieve that. And then it's like, right, okay, you know, I'm 28 now and I've achieved pretty much, well, I'd say a lot more than what a lot of these people that have attempted to try and teach me things back in my past. And again, it's just, you know, I've gone right through, you know, the ranks, if you like, in the industry of just being a gym member to then be a PT, and all this kind of stuff. And my approach to it now is totally different to a couple of years ago. I always wanted to have a good gym, but it was totally different to a couple of years ago, where it meant the most to me to be, you know, the one in there training all the time. I mean, to be honest, I train now more than ever, but more for health purposes and, you know, reasons of being in there rather than just, you know, the way I look. I had that bothered.
And what you said? What was it? It was vanity over sanity. Was that the
vanity over sanity?
Love
yeah.
that. I absolutely love that. That is incredible.
Well, to be honest, yeah, that's like the biggest drive I think for myself. It's that, like, you know, I constantly want to live in vanity, not sanity, and I can be sat, you know, wherever I am. I can be preaching stuff on Facebook all the time and saying, no, I'm going to be doing big things this year and stuff like that. And I'd rather not. I'd rather wait until I'm pretty much, you know, a couple of weeks into the project, and it's definitely happening, like I was with the gym. Like, I was dead set that I wasn't really going to announce anything, and then literally I think I announced it, and then 10 weeks later you've got pictures of this thing. It's just appeared out of nowhere. And then, like other people, you know, I look at a lot of others that you know, do, you know, they're very active on social media and stuff like that. I mean, Dave, you'll see it in the industry. Like, you get people that are just so active all the time, just constantly like putting bloody messages down people's throats. New year, new you. This is the time to do this. This is the time to do that. And I just think, it could be a Monday, you know, it could be a Tuesday, it could be a Wednesday. You could walk into a gym, you could bump into somebody, have a conversation that just changes their thought process whatsoever. And that's the time for them to change. It's not, don't have to be a case of where it's so, like, you know, rammed down people's throats all the time, massively publicised. You've just got to be able to turn up, deliver what you're going to deliver, and that's it. And if you deliver that, and if you do it with some conviction, and you do it with, obviously, you know, a lot of accountability, and then you happen to then, obviously, over a period of time, your percentages add up to where you've got a massive track record behind you, then all of a sudden you end up in a position where people just, they hear about it and they go, oh, you know, he's doing it again. You know, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like you mentioned earlier about Dave, like with his clients and things like that, you know, like he's creating like a path of destruction, as I like to say, like through obviously the industry and wherever he's going. And then behind him, you've got people sort of like stepping out of their comfort zone, looking behind and going, oh, you know, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. And it's, I'm not going to say like they work as hard as you, because I don't believe they do, but obviously it's easy for them to then follow your path because you've already cleared the way. You're already obviously at the forefront of that. You're making the hard yards in terms of, like, you know, making all the risks, putting all the energy into it, you know, turning things into, you know, something fathomable, whatever people can then turn up and just go, oh yeah, like this is, you know, this is pretty cool. This is easy. Like, you know, whether that be just turn up to a facility that used to be an empty unit and go on a treadmill for 60 minutes 4 times a week, and that makes them a lot better. Whether it gives somebody a job, you know, whether it gets somebody out of a routine where they're not really liking the gym and they're probably 3 or 4 sessions away from never going again. So then obviously then turning up and having a different mindset towards it. You know, it's...
Well, you've touched on an element there where you spoke about just people just posting anything. And it's something I've been working on recently with our team on exploring quality versus quantity. And it's an interesting concept because you would suggest that you should always go for quality over quantity. And there's an amazing example. I think we raised it on a podcast very early days, and it's my mate co-host Phil, and it was a study. It was studied from a university in America, and it was a photography course. And the lecturer, he split the class up in 2 halves, and one half could only take 1 picture, so it had to be the perfect picture, right? And the other half could take as many pictures as they wanted, as many photos as they wanted, and then they selected one from it. And the best photographs always came from those that could take the most photographs, that could have that kind of that freedom. So it's an interesting concept because that, I mean, that doesn't always apply. You know, it's not always the more you do, the better it is. So I think there's it can depend in what scenario, certainly in terms of it could be industry specific as well, but also in individuals as well. Because if you put more time and focus over that, getting something right, you know, that might deliver better results. Whereas likewise, if you've got that freedom and expression to go out there and just and capture many things, talk to as many people, get those ideas. I mean, Jack, you mentioned there about speaking to lots of experienced people in the industry, and no doubt, you know, you drew a lot of different things from all of those people, as well as your own ideas, and put them together to move forward. So, but when we talk about quantity, Michelle, you know, you have 4 kids, and I am eager to learn how on earth. I mean, you're joining it. You're joining us with time available today and a smile. I mean, how on earth do you find the time, the headspace, the focus, the ability, the motivation to be the best version of you? And what does the best version of you look like? What is your daily routine? What are your healthy habits? Where do you make sure you ring fence time? I'm just curious because I I have a lot of respect for people with kids, let alone with 4 running around. So yeah, huge respect. But give us insight into that, Michelle.
So I would say the kids have actually been the driving force for me to create more time, look after myself better. I think sometimes you can go the other way and you become fully just, being a parent. And I've learned that I need to be me. I need to segregate things. There was a little knock on the door while you were speaking, Jack. I hope you couldn't hear it. I was like, oh my gosh, go away. But for me, listening to you, Jack, that was really inspiring. It reminded me of a book that I've literally just finished, and it's called Mac 2 with Your Hair on Fire. And it's about secrets to success, whether it's in your health, your well-being, business. And it all comes back to, what is it? Is it working harder? Is it doing more? Is it pumping more money into things? And he says the secret to everything really comes down to self-motivation, because it's only those that have got really good daily habits and discipline that will stay in the long game. And I see that all the time. And obviously, like, Jack's got a really clear vision of where he's going 5-10 years, and you're quite naturally pulled towards that. So you're so self-motivated because your vision's so strong of what you're going to create. Whereas I think sometimes when people make a New Year's resolution and it's on a whim, they're not thinking far enough ahead. And like Gemma said, they're not thinking about the why behind it. And I think for me, making some massive changes lifestyle-wise, probably 6-7 years ago, I was obviously a new mum, had a young child, started my health and wellness business, was on a bit of a journey, but I realized that I had to really start looking after myself so that I could look after other people. So as a mum of 4 and 4 young kids, I'm quite selfish sometimes, in a way of, I look after myself, because if I'm not in a good place and I'm not healthy, and I don't have energy, then I can't be a parent, and never mind build my businesses as well. And so for me, like January especially, I work with a big team, because obviously one of my businesses is on hold, my retreats obviously, and sadly my online wellness business, that's fine, and it's spread over different countries. So I work with clients with like a 30-day program, which is nutritionist led. So I'm almost like their cheerleader and kind of coach through it, and also work with my team. And we work through a book at the end of each year called Your Best Year Yet. And you were talking about journaling and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a way of reflecting on the last year, not looking at failures, but where can we learn from that? What needs to change? And through going through this process, it takes about an hour, but it's the most beneficial hour you can put aside for yourself. You then realize, what do I want to do differently this year? And it's not about changing who you are, it's just becoming a bit better and improving certain areas. So for me, obviously every January I'm coaching all my clients through the program, but for me it's about a lifestyle. So I always think, if 80% of the time you're on the ball, you're doing great. 20% of the time, eating what you want and relaxing a bit, that's a good balance. And so I try and coach people through education and working with their mindset that if they can carry that forward for life, they're going to be winning. It's not about go the whole hog for 2 weeks and then quit and feel rubbish about yourself. I think as well, like, motivation statistically, it only lasts 48 hours, and a lot of people don't know that. So you can be really motivated January the 1st, I'm going to, start working out, I'm going to eat healthy. 2 days later, if they haven't put some discipline and habits into place, the motivation's gone. So people fall off the wagon so quickly. So something I work with on myself and with everyone else that I work with is, what are those daily habits? What are those small little changes that need to happen? And start small so you don't overwhelm yourself. What are 3 things that you could do differently? So for me, my day is I get up earlier than the kids. People think I'm nuts, but I get 45 minutes to myself. I do some mindfulness, meditate, I do a bit of yoga, manage to have, a herbal tea or something, before they wake up. And what I've done is I've put myself in a good, strong mindset for the day, because when you wake up, the first 20 minutes are really important. Your subconscious is really impressionable. So for someone that wakes up, they reach for the phone, they're straight on social media, you open yourself up to a whole world, especially at the moment, of debates, negativity, things you might not want to be seeing, and that will set your whole day off in a certain way. So starting your day right would be my biggest tip. There is a book called The Miracle Morning, which is what inspired me to do that. I schedule everything. I used to be the most unorganized person, and actually pre-kids I was very much like Jack. Like, I've got a great memory, I always know what I'm doing and where I need to be, and that's fine. But now I've got 4 kids in the mix, I have to schedule everything. And it's great because it clears my mind. So I do like an hour's business focused time, which is with you guys today, and then I shut off and I will be a mum to the kids, and I'm homeschooling, and we'll go for a walk. And then, you know, later on tonight I'll be like, right, half an hour focused business time, go. And then I shut off, because that keeps this in a good
keeps
place.
in check.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just as much about your mindset as everything.
Well, and there's a fine line, isn't there, between being selfish and selfless, and often, and with that in play, often you can venture over too far either side, and then it's like the selfishness can then be negative, but also being selfless too many times or too much in a moment can have a detrimental impact, you know, medium and long term. Yeah, it's interesting that. I mean, have you found that you've gone too far either way, or have you've kind of honed your craft, and you know, you can identify really quickly when you may be going too far for yourself or for others, and that understanding?
It definitely took me a while. It probably took me years to get it right. Business was overlapping parenting and vice versa. Didn't have any time for me. Obviously, my business is at a point now where I've got a lot of leverage, so I get time with the kids, which is really important. But I feel like now I've almost nailed it, you know. And I do get up earlier than the kids. It's not that I'm taking time out from them. It's like, I'm going to have the discipline to get up earlier so I can have some time for me, work on me. Then I can be a fully present parent. And when it's time to step into businesswoman mode, which is hard at the moment because the whole family's in the house, there's 6 of us, it's crazy. I'm surprised it isn't noisy in the background, but I think my husband's put them all in the garden. But, you know, I've found that balance now, but it's taken a lot of work. And, you know, I've got a lot of mentors as well, and a lot of them are mums and they've got businesses and careers. So I've kind of watched, and Jack hit the nail on the head. You know, success leaves clues. So people will look at all of you on here, and you're kind of leading the way and setting the pace for people. So I've watched other people and, you know, just modeled what they've done. How do they make it work? How can you be a fully present, engaged parent and be successful in business and have time for yourself? So it's taken me years, but happy to advise anyone that's struggling with that.
Do you know, I think to add to that as well, guys, I think, like, I'm a big believer, and I say this all the time to people, that, like, and you've got to understand it from a certain point of view, but I say to people all the time, like, you are the most important person in your life. And I think, like, when I say that to some people are so quick to go, no, my kids are, or my partner is. And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, they're a very valuable, like, part of your life above everything else. But if, like, say, for example, Michelle, like you just said, certain things there that you put in place to make sure that you're the best person you could possibly be. Well, if you didn't do that, and if you didn't look after yourself, then how could you then possibly then go out to then obviously make sure that you give the best, obviously, life to obviously then them kids, your partner, me, say, for example, my dogs, that kind of thing. You know, so I think, yeah, a lot of people, especially like as us, whether you're in business or as coaches or going across, I think, like, it's really important, like social media, like, I believe it is like a devil thing that's come around, and it's taken the world by storm, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But again, like, I think it's showing people how to look at certain things. And like you just said, like, Michelle, like, you're not escaping your kids for 45 minutes in the morning. The way you look at it is that you're setting yourself up to be the strongest person right then, so that when them 4 kids get up, you're off. I mean, like, I'd love to know what time of day I'm going to get up every day, but unfortunately one of these dogs is going to wake up before the other one every morning and decide that he needs to go out just for a look. You know, I don't even want to go to the toilet, right? Just needs to have a look, you know, see what's in the garden. And I just think, you know, and sometimes I can get 4 hours sleep, sometimes I can get 8 hours sleep, you know, and it's, you know, I think it's very important to remember that, obviously, no matter what you're saying to everybody, that, you know, the most important person is them in their bubble. And I think, especially, obviously, going on about the bubbles that we have now, like, you know, you see so many things and so many people putting stuff on Facebook about, you know, about an important coffee today, you know, and it's like they emphasize the coffee, and it's like, well, I have 10 coffees a day. You know, they're not all more important than the other, but it's obviously the time that you're then spending, obviously, either with a person or, you know, in work, or what you're doing, obviously, on your own So, you know, I've found that obviously it's you and your own thoughts. I mean, like I say, I struggle to write things down. So like me reading a book, it's just never going to happen. I've never read a book. I've read a comic book, you know, but I would never read a book with like 400, 500, 600, 1,000 pages, whatever they come in, whatever sizes they are. But I'm big on, like, you know, being able to sit there and visualize, and I think everybody can do that. And obviously they just obviously make their own decisions on what level they want to get off at, and then where they're going to sit comfortably, you know, for a certain period of time, and then they might get back on that, you know, roller coaster, if you like. Like I mentioned with you earlier, Dave, like you might continue for 10, 15, 20 years, constantly just getting stronger, improving. You might get someone that jumps on with you now, in 6 months, they've achieved miles more than what they thought they was going to do to jump off. You know, and then obviously, but it's nothing to stop them from jumping back on 12 months' time. You know, and obviously making a couple more months, you know, worth of progress, and so on and so on.
It's an interesting point, and Michelle and Jack, you both made points there. Michelle, about the start of your day and the importance that plays, and setting yourself up, and Jack reflecting on that, and then also that one of your Great Danes gets you up in the morning. And the one thing that's been coming across with our guests, yes, for this month of January, but right through the podcast, especially under lockdown and needing structure and routine, is the importance, you know, why you get yourself out of bed, having a purpose to get yourself out of bed in the morning. And we had a guest speak about, like, because is it called Chase the Frog or Catch the Frog, where you start your day's task with the one you don't want to do, and it's like maybe the biggest one to get over the line. And we had a guest comment on that, and that's great. But then when there's a day when that just you haven't got the energy for that, and you're not in the right headspace for that big task, it's like, right, shift and pivot, and then knock off 3, 4, 5 quick tasks that you can achieve really easy, even from making your bed. I mean, there's that amazing YouTube video of that guy speaking at a college in America. You know, I don't know if he's an ex-serviceman or current serviceman, and he talks about the importance of making your bed to achieve that first task of your day. And I mean, I want to kind of summarize the episode. I want to go around you guys, but I want you to give, like, what would be your you know, the tip or the trick that you could advise someone that's an easy road in to making a positive change, something that someone watching this podcast, listening to this episode, can easily take on to get them onto a healthy path, and looking at motivation and structure, drive, energy, and all the rest of that good stuff. And I mean, I'll start with mine would be is to have that purpose, to get you out of bed. I've just got a new dog, so I relate, Jack, is that I've committed now. I'm the one getting up at 6:30 a.m. and I'm going out. So I've got my kit ready. I've got her routine, which is more importantly for me, my routine in the morning now. And I'm going out, and then I'm listening to a podcast, and I'm working out how she works and finally tuning that. And that's my reason to get up now. And once I'm up, I'm like, within 10 minutes, I'm like, right, I'm awake. I'm now mapping my day out. It's like awesome. And it, you know, for those non-dog lovers out there, that might seem silly, but essentially it's my reason to now get up. I've got responsibility, accountability, and that purpose to start my day. So that's what my kind of encouragement to people would be to if you're struggling with a purpose, is to implement something, a reason to get yourself out of bed. And that, if it's not enough motivation for something for you, then look at others around you. You know, Michelle, you spoke about your kids and the importance of setting yourself up for your kids at the start of the day. What piece of advice can people take away with? What is an easy, simple start that people can make if they're struggling out there? And I'll open the floor. Gem, let's start with you.
Oh, go on then. Just to sort of echo back what Michelle and Jack touched on there as well, I had a game-changing moment that linked to that, and I think on the last interview we spoke about it. And like you guys, I was very giving, and I saw self-care as a selfish thing. And it wasn't until I did the course to become a health coach and somebody said to me, self-care is not selfish. It's what allows you to give more generously. So I think in terms of just a little thing to keep in your head and to link to what those guys were saying, that was a game changer for me. And I think once you realise that, and just if you're really honest with yourself as to why you're doing things, that really helps to kind of own your truth on the whole situation. But one thing that I can say is a really quick, easy win, particularly under the times we're living in at the minute, everybody on some level is living with a bit of stress or fear. It's probably one of the scariest times, particularly for like our generation. We've maybe never seen anything like this before. And breathing, because you can guarantee, although we breathe something like 25,000 times a day, we're not always getting ourselves into the state of relaxation that we need to be in to be able to assimilate nutrients and digest our food and everything like that. So, and I mentioned earlier when I had a client who, she was going to lose a lid, she was completely going to have a meltdown, but she said, I just went back to the breathing, and it's called the 5-5-7 breath. And it's something really simple, and it sounds like, well, too simple to be true, but it really works. And I get a lot of my clients to do it sometimes before they eat, but also when they feel like under a particular state of stress and anxiety. Because, you know, with our like parasympathetic nervous system, if you're in a stress response, your digestive system is just completely switched off. So you're not going to get the benefits of what you're eating anyway. And as I think Jack mentioned earlier, the food's so important. 80% of your body is made in the kitchen, regardless of how hard you're training. So as much as I'd like to give advice on food and things like that, the food's irrelevant if you're not breathing and digesting it properly. So if you can kind of breathe in for 5 seconds, hold that breath for 5 seconds, maybe at the top, and then breathe out slowly for 7. And if you can do that about 10 rounds through, either before you eat or before you go into some sort of state of you're not going to be making rational decisions, or there'll be a lot of that going on at the minute. And I think if we're all honest, we've probably all had a day during this whole lockdown and at any point in our lives where we just need to breathe. And that's what I'd say be a little bit of an easy win.
I love that. And what I love more was for our, because we reach people in more than 60 countries on this podcast. And there was a very, I don't even know, would you say more Hull term than UK was when you spoke about your client about to lose their lid? Like, I love it. Which of course is in America would be to lose your shit and basically to come up and basically break down and blow up. But yeah, I love that, great advice. And it's just that kind of taking a step back and taking literally a breather, isn't it? That is literally what it's about, which then encourages mindfulness and calming the chaos. Certainly within. I love that. Anyone?
Just one more thing, but
yeah.
I just wanted to touch on this because I kind of made a little note before we'd met. But I'm kind of looking at a lot of what I do is functional nutrition, and it's food as medicine. And I've kind of been thinking a lot with everything that's going on lately, and you know, I don't want to get into the politics and the muddiness of it all, but we're all very reliant on, you know, not us maybe personally, but other people are quite reliant on prescription drugs and, you know, other releases for their ailments. But have a look at food as medicine, because actually, you know, it's the age-old saying, isn't it? We are what we eat. But I've seen people make massive transformations just by cutting out toxins from the diet. And a lot of the like students I work with as well, I'm working in an autistic hub at the minute. And one thing that I've been kind of saying is, let's not necessarily reward them with sweets. And a lot of kids are having these energy drinks and things. If you can stay away from anything that's chemically based and try and, you know, nobody's going to do it perfectly, but if you can move more towards counting chemicals rather than counting calories, and all I mean by that is turning over the packet and looking what's in it. If it's full of a load of words you don't understand, chances are you shouldn't be eating it anyway. And, you know, if you can sort of just gradually move a little bit more slow, tiny little increments to a whole foods diet, that will save you a lot of potential illness and heartache, in my opinion.
Love that. Yeah, you are what you eat, and food is certainly medicine. Guys, who wants to go next? The one takeaway tip or trick for our audience.
Yeah, happy to share something. Totally agree with everything you just said, Gemma. Basically what I live by. I would just say, I know maybe for a lot of people right now, they maybe don't have that purpose and maybe they're not working and it's hard to, you know, get going with your day. What I would say is find one thing that changes your state instantly. So for some people that might be doing a workout, for some people that might be sitting and meditating, but it could be something as simple as getting up in the morning, you're in a bit of a lull, you're like, what on earth am I going to do today? And you just put on your favorite song and you put it on full blast and it'll just raise your energy and your state. And as a knock-on effect from that, you'll start to feel a bit more motivated and your energy will be up and you'll feel happier, and then you might be like, right, what shall I do today? So yeah, just find a tool for you that's going to raise your state and do that when you get up and just see if it makes a difference.
Love that. Raise your state. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's a quick tip and trick, isn't it? That's a really quick one to start your day. And as you said, it has every opportunity to snowball when you're more alert, more energized to look at the next thing that you can do. Because start small, get those easy wins early as possible in your day and move forward. Thanks for that, Michelle. Dave, Jack, one piece of advice?
I would say, yeah, just sort of like, I suppose it's just echoing what's being said, but just to start doing something rather than nothing, because I think a lot of the time people procrastinate, overthink the situation, and they try and create this perfect scenario, be it like with the diet, training, whatever. And again, it's just, we're not perfect, are we? We're imperfect, as I said before. But I think the important thing is to build upon that foundation. That foundation doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good. And then you can build on that, and then you can get somewhere near where, you envision yourself to be. So yeah, I'd just say start something rather than nothing. That's a biggie. If
you don't know what to do something, because at least you have much more chance. Even if it's the wrong path. I know it's from there's Dr. Jordan Peterson, who I'm a massive fan of, and he said the same. Is like, you get too many people procrastinating and bumbling around because they don't know what to do, and then they kid themselves that they're waiting for the right time and opportunity. And often, if the right time and opportunity did come around, they probably wouldn't identify it being the right time and opportunity. Yeah. So it's just like, pick something, because then at least if you're going down a certain path, you then have opportunities come your way, which wouldn't have happened if you weren't doing anything at all. So yeah, I fully agree with you on that one. That's been a big thing for me over the last kind of 2 years is just, have some momentum. Some movement and momentum in an idea, in a challenge, in a direction, whatever that might be, but make a start. Absolutely. That's so important. Love that. And Jack, to finish us off.
So like, what one thing a day to keep yourself motivated and that?
Well, what would be the like, because we could have a 5-hour episode based on advice and structured routines and covering a range of areas. So there's no shortage of stuff, but it's really about what could you advise? So you've got someone who's struggling, right? As many people are right now, and they don't know which way to turn. What is the best way to start? And they might have a number of options in front of them, and so alcohol, right? Okay.
Definitely not.
What, turn to it or away from it, mate? Which?
No, I think. Yeah, I think what you just said there when you mentioned momentum, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I've mentioned that to somebody recently in regards to, we're all in a situation in the UK now where we have been told, for I think it was 4 months, we couldn't exercise, couldn't go to a gym, couldn't go to a place, and like a lot of people build this bridge of thought process towards like the finish work or the start of the day, or at some point of that 24-hour period, they're going to a place, and that's going to be the place where the switch, the turn off, they go into it, the training with a PT on their own, whatever they're doing. I mean, like, say, for example, me, when I start my day, like, I can be up and out the house within 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm at the gym, I've had an espresso, and it's literally, I'm on the treadmill. Now, as I'm on the treadmill, because I'm only walking, but it's just a case of me being active while I'm on my phone, on my iPad, checking my emails, making my phone calls to basically set myself up for the day of where they need to be. Now, I think the momentum's the key thing, because we've, like I said earlier, we've just been shut down for like 4 months last year at the beginning of that year, March to July, I think it was. And then we had 2 months, I think, back at it, shut in November again. And then obviously we've had December, which is normally like a quiet time anyway, in terms of people building momentum, because everybody is getting ready to either go back home, spend time with the family, switch off for a week or so, that kind of thing, or a couple of days. Obviously, we've all been pent up, obviously, myself especially. Obviously, I opened up the new gym on the 2nd of January, and then we're shut on the 4th, thanks to Boris. So it's like, I think a lot of us have sort of given up now and trying to apply logic to the sciences that they're telling us that are going to like keep us all fit and healthy and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, Boris himself even said he struggled with the disease because he was so fat. That was his words. And I think like, You know,
and he's closing the gym, and then he's closing the gym down. Yeah, it doesn't. Where's your momentum right now, Jack? Because
well, I think it's
clearly been hit hard in terms of business, and no doubt that's had an impact in many ways personally. Where's your momentum right now on a daily basis right now?
For me, obviously, I mean, I'm lucky. I do have access, obviously, to go to obviously a couple of facilities still to train because I'm the only person going. You've got
the best personal gym in the city, literally, haven't you? That is
got both. But the thing is that the issue is those days, like I go there, and I was saying to this the other day, like I'm normally going there, and the first thing I'm normally doing is saying hi to people. You know, I'm normally speaking. Just a wave, a smile, no matter what it is. And I'm going there now, and it's like I'm stood outside in the freezing cold trying to get the key into the key. I've got to wait until the shutters go up, which just seems to take forever. And then obviously I go in there and I've got to turn the lights on. It's cold. It's soulless. There's no music. There's no people creating any energy or anything like that. So, you know, a lot of my obviously sort of momentum is and I tell you what, like when we did close, that probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week, it really sort of hit me and constantly did. And then it got to like the weekend, and I think it wasn't until like sort of Friday, Saturday that I sort of like started to like come back out of it a little bit. And obviously, yeah, I'm starting obviously this week. This week's obviously off like I have. And, you know, I've just sort of said to myself, right, okay, I've got to be back at the gym. I've got to be back into the training. I've got to, because they're like my two sort of stepping stones of my day in terms of I start on the treadmill or on the bike or whatever it's going to be on the bags. And then I finish sort of my working day by going to one of the gyms and then getting a weight session in. And then everything else, like sort of after my weight session, I'm sort of cut off. I might do a little bit of work. You'll check your emails, you can't help it. You're flicking through, you're seeing what's going on after that. But it's getting back into my routine to the best of my ability. And like at the moment, it is hard, hard for all of us because, you know, we can't fill them hours during the morning and the close of your business, whatever that's going to be, whether it's 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock or whatever, because obviously of all the limitations that we're currently going under. But I think obviously it's just making sure that, you know, for me, I'm creating at least a starting point and then, you know, like a mid to an end of the day. And for me, it's just a case of where I'm just like, you know, every day that passes, I'm just like crossing that off as if that's just another day closer to eventually being able to get back to work, get back to business and obviously do what we do. But at the minute, nothing can mimic, you know, what I've been doing. I'm pretty sure obviously it's the same for you guys as well. You know, we're just, you know, we're prisoners really at the minute. So it's important that we're trying to get by ourselves.
As you said earlier, you know, if under normal circumstances you're working around 85-90% of a normal day, and that being your kind of your energy and your purpose, as you touched on before, if currently, you know, that looks at 20 or 30%, then that's massively different than 0% of not turning up and not getting up and not having some drive, and the impact that makes on those around you, which we spoke about being selfless, and also the importance of being selfish as well.
The thing is, as well, it's not our choice, is it? You know, we are all being dictated to now, and I don't know about you guys and what your opinions are on it, but you know, obviously when they opened up, you know, obviously the first time, and they told everybody that you could go to McDonald's for half price, you know, and the fitness industry and health industry just got, you know, well forgotten about, and then obviously then opened up pubs before the fitness industry and health industry and all that kind of stuff. And I feel as though if there's one industry that's just sort of all been neglected, forgotten about, and whenever it's mentioned, it's looked the other way. It is like, you know, the positives of going to a gym and getting out and training, even to the point now where we've got articles flying around saying that apparently by the end of whenever it's going to be, we're only going to be allowed out our houses once a week. Like is really, you know, is that going to happen?
It does seem ludicrous, and when we know the importance of health and fitness and mindful on mental health, and January, as we know, is the peak. You know, once the kind of festive period, New Year period is the time of year when people are struggling with their mental health, and it's the time of the year it's the highest rate of suicides, isn't it? So it does seem ludicrous that all the efforts aren't increased into providing access and opportunity for people to be healthy and fit, and exploring nutrition and whatnot. So, I mean, it's an avenue we could start another podcast on, right? And certainly going down the political route and view, and and Boris not being favoured amongst us and the fitness industry or the country as a whole at the moment. But guys, as always, we have to cut it short. There's loads we could talk on. You've all given immense amount of value, and you've been super transparent and authentic, which is really key for this show and our audience. Where can people find you? Where can people be directed to find out more to your channels, your platforms, your businesses? Michelle?
Yep. So Instagram, Michelle_Vodden_. You can find me on Facebook. I've got a business page, the Mumpreneur Movement. I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle Vodden, and I've also got a website, michellevodden.com, which links you to my various businesses.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. And Gem?
Mine's www.honuhealthcoaching.com.
Honu
and I've
Health
also got a
Coaching,
Facebook page of the same name and an Instagram page of the same name. If anybody does need any help and wants to reach out for anything, and they want it a bit more personal, then you can email me at honuhealth@outlook.com.
honuhealth@outlook.com. Cool. Cheers. And Dave?
Yeah, so mine's social media, Instagram, Facebook. If you just type in Mankel of Mankel, I'll be at the top of the list. Same with the website as well, mankelofmankel.com. And again, if you want to get in touch with me, send me an email, info@mankelofmankel.com.
Fantastic. Thanks. And Jack?
I can't remember what my Instagram thing is.
Love it.
I'm on Facebook every now and again. I'm on
that social network that's really popular. I've got a profile on it. No, we'll list everybody's.
Don't call me, I'll call you.
We'll list everybody's websites and social hooks in the copy for the episode on all of our platforms as well, guys. So 45 minutes has turned into an hour and nearly 15 minutes, which isn't a surprise. We could talk for hours. And yeah, guys, I can't thank you enough. I think it's safe to say there'll be an importance placed on us revisiting this in the year ahead, because we have people contacting us often for advice on many aspects. None so more right now than kind of mental health and health and fitness. So thanks so much. I know our audience will have taken a shitloads away from this episode, and so
health is our wealth, isn't it? More than ever now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish you guys the very best of years ahead under these challenging and uncertain times. So and we will speak soon, guys. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks ever so much.
Cheers,
guys. Take care.
See you
Cheers,
later,
guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.